Hello and welcome to this webinar in the Inspire Hackathon series. We are going to talk about cataloging citizens' observatories data and results today, and then also some additional nice surprises for you. With me today, I have 4 presenters. My name is Bente Liaby. I'm going to be your host. As usual, being a host for these webinars, I will start the webinar with a series of weather reports. We want people to be able to join us before we really start the program. So therefore, we do some weather reporting, and you can also help us get an overview of the weather by telling us in the chat box. But we start here. Georgiana, can you let us know where you are and what the weather is like?
Hello, I'm in Berlin and the weather is lovely today.
Sounds nice. How about you, Carol? Where are you and what's the weather like?
I am near from Prague. We have a sunny day. Now it's around 20 degrees outside, so it seems that very nice weather in this moment.
In this moment. Okay, great. Valantis, where are you and what's the weather like?
Hi, I am in Athens, Greece. So the weather is mostly cloudy with a couple of showers. It is a bit breezy and cool, but it's fine.
It's fine. You can deal with it.
Yeah.
We're used to Greece being very sunny and warm. So this is
Indeed.
And Kushik, last but not least, what's the weather like and where are you?
Hello, hi, this is Kaushik. I'm actually joined from Lisbon, Portugal. Well, the weather is not the way you expect Portugal would be today. It's been raining and it's quite dark. And well, in a way, with this lockdown situation, it's not something I'm missing out a lot from outside. So yeah.
Okay, so it's fine that it's not the typical Lisbon weather with you.
Indeed.
Yes. Okay, so well, I'm situated in Norway, far north, actually beyond the polar circle, so close to a town called Bodø. And today we have overcast, and it went from being below 0 to about 6 and 7 degrees Celsius. So it's normal weather for this part of the year. It's very unstable. It's like sunny, overcast, raining, cold, sun, every other minute. Okay. With that, welcome. I see we get more weather reports. Thank you, Sunday Munich. And we have somebody from Brazil. So, and what else? Berlin, Delhi. Welcome to all of you. And thank you so much for reporting in our chat box. So before we start, I want to do some housekeeping. We are planning to do this webinar in about 1 hour, so it will last 1 hour. We have 4 presentations, and we have a Q&A at the end. In between each of the presentations, we welcome you to ask questions. So we will take some of the questions in between each of the presentations, but like I said, we will have a Q&A at the end where we will be able to exchange more information. You can also comment, by the way. So let us know where you come from, what your background is, what your interest is in. Everything is welcome in the comment, in the chat box. So yes, so we will do, we have 4 presentations. So we will start with an introduction to what the Citizens Observatories data is and how you manage this data. And then of course you will be introduced to a challenge about cataloging Citizens Observatories data and results. So this will be given by Valantis. Then Kushik will introduce us to NextGEOSS and the NextGEOSS Data Hub. He will talk about cataloging services and then some. And then we will have Georgiana, who will then introduce us to the Data Hub software that we're using, the CCAN software. And she will let us know a little bit more about that and the OpenSearch API. So if you haven't heard about that, this is your opportunity. And finally, not last least, Karel Harvat, the godfather of the Inspire Hackathons, he will introduce a other challenge. So I forgot to mention that we have actually 2 Inspire hackathons going on in parallel now. This one here is the Dubrovnik, so the challenge with the cataloging of citizen science data is in the Dubrovnik Inspire Hackathon, but we have something similar going on, and of course relevant, in the Kampala Inspire Hackathon, where we are focusing more on Africa, but there are many similarities, same kind of challenges that we address. So that's why you will learn about one of the challenges in the Kampala Inspire Hackathon as well, from Carol. Okay, with that, I think we are ready to start. Yes, Valentis, let us hear about citizen science data. We will disappear the videos, we will turn off our video cameras, but we will come back to you.
Okay, so hello again from my side. My name is Valentis Tsiakos, and I'm a researcher in the Institute of Communication and Computer Systems, located in Athens, Greece. So I would like to welcome you all in this challenge taking place in the Inspire Hackathon 2020. I would like to set the scene and give an overview about what is going to take place in the context of this activity. So let's start with the citizen observatories and what we mean by citizen science data. So, as mentioned, the goal of this challenge is related to citizen science data and citizen observatories. So, citizen observatories can be considered as community-based environmental monitoring and information systems that invite individuals to share observations, typically via mobile phone or the web. The widespread adoption of mobile devices and the social media platforms with different low-cost sensors and IoT devices has made it easier for the public to contribute to and engage in scientific research and monitoring. On the other hand, as you know, we have traditional environmental monitoring systems such as Copernicus that produce a variety of valuable data sets relevant to environmental monitoring, such as land use, atmospheric emissions, and so on. However, this data is meticulous and offered for the entire EU landscape, but their update rate is extremely scarce due to the increased cost and timely data validation procedures. So citizen observatories data and information can complement these official, traditional, in situ and remote sensing data sources, allowing relevant authorities to improve and fill gaps in the environmental monitoring process. In the context of the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program, 4 sister projects on citizen observatories for environmental monitoring have been launched and realized. These are GROW, Ground Truth, Landsense, and SENSE. So during these projects, a variety of smart applications have been implemented, enabling citizens to be engaged with environmental monitoring during their activities. So by using low-cost portable sensors coupled with data analytics and quality assurance and monitoring approaches, can actively be engaged and contribute to environmental monitoring with valuable information. So the capabilities of such tools that have been developed by these projects and others around the world have been demonstrated in a variety of citizen science campaigns. conducting across different European regions and beyond, leading to the collection of valuable environmental information. So here you can see some of the themes that are involved are land cover, land use, where we have point observations, maps, activities related to change detection, validation, field size, and interpretations, and so on. So we have data regarding soil parameters. This involves soil moisture, rain temperature, levels of light, planting and harvesting dates. We could tackle also water, measuring water level and water velocity, as well as air quality, focusing on black carbon concentrations. And moreover, we have phenological observations, including species and phenophase identifications, as well as other application domains, disaster resilience, for instance, maps and time series data related to flood monitoring, urban green space quality, where we aim to collect the user's perception through the provision of responses to a questionnaire and images, and so on. So this is an answer, briefly, the different themes that have been handled by these sister citizen observatories in Europe and even beyond. Now, some of the main challenges that these activities, and in particular citizen science, face some challenges in relation to the overall environmental monitoring process. So, in the context of the WeObserve project, this is also funded under Horizon 2020, we aim to establish citizen observatories as an integral component of managing environmental challenges and empowering resilient communities. So here we can see the three challenges that the project aims to overcome, and that also related to this activity. And the first one, it is on awareness, meaning generate awareness, build and sustain a critical mass to support citizen science activities. The other one is on acceptability, aiming to showcase the added value of citizen-driven science to decision and policy makers, since usually and in the past such observations coming from citizen-based activities are often scrutinized for not meeting the quality standards for decision makers. And last but not least, something that we will also focus, it's related to with this challenge, involves sustainability. Although localized citizen science projects within the EU and beyond have shown great promise, the infrastructure measures and measures in place often seem insufficient to sustain and scale up these initiatives. It is important to come up with ways to support and scale up citizen science to various sectors. So now, in terms of the citizen science data and how we management, in the context of this project, but also others in the past, we have a variety of datasets that are being managed by different infrastructures involving various accessing points, utilizing different standards, and so on. And we formulate a rather fragmented landscape of valuable environmental resources. So here, we have three, let's say, main areas where we can focus. The one involves data collection and storage, where it is important to have infrastructure in place that can collect different data and make them available in different formats, while also being collected by various devices. So here the goal is to offer a storage solution that is capable of being able to store millions of measurements at different time with different spatial distributions, while also responding to queries efficiently and provide access to multiple users at the same time. On the other hand, we have also quality control and assurance issues to take into consideration. To assess the quality of citizens' contributions, systems must be able to cope with different challenges, such as the correctness and accuracy of the essential measurements, the reliability of the users, and also the protection of the system from malicious contribution. And last but not least, access, use, and sharing. So standardization constitutes a key element in the overall process, enabling the maximization of the value of the data provided by the various projects through the utilization of common systems for transmitting and exchanging environmental information. So in particular regarding the latter, it is important to ensure that data and information of different origin and time are compatible and comparable, facilitating their integration into models and the development of applications that can support decision support tools. So here we can see the five main principles in terms of managing this data following the global observation system of systems involve discoverability, accessibility, usability, reversion, preservation, and curation. Mainly in the context of this challenge, we are going to address the discoverability part, which is mainly related that all data and all associated metadata should be discoverable through catalogs and search engines, and data access and use conditions, including licenses, should be clearly indicated. This is one of the key elements that need to be considered in order to enable maximization of the value of the different data provided. So, how we can work together and what we can do in this challenge. So the approach here is to implement a cataloging process and to investigate such cases as an approach to connect citizen science into the GEOSS, the Global Observation System of Systems. So some of the activities and the main points that we are going to tackle in the context of the challenge, and we will go on to discuss more in the subsequent presentations, are the analysis of the infrastructure of citizen observatories and citizen science projects, the provision of recommendations to data providers so as to facilitate cataloging of their resources effectively, and also the implementation of data harvests aiming to demonstrate the applicability of the cataloging process in NextGEOSS projects, with data coming from citizen observatories that realized in different places in Europe. And with this, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Valantis. We will, come back to you all. Thank you so much. For those, most of you probably will have experienced a breaking up of the sound of Valantis when he was presenting. Hopefully the slides were informative, but I can promise you the recording of this webinar, the sound will be less breaking up. We know this from experience. So you feel free to ask questions to Valantis. Now, I will then, while I'm waiting for it, you will get the link to a description of the challenge in the chat box shortly now. I will provide that for you so that you know how to engage with this team addressing this challenge. But I understand, Valantis, that you are going to start with the CENT data. So CENT being one of the citizens observatories, right?
Correct. As will also be presented by the colleagues, we'll initiate this with CENT Citizen Observatory, establishing integration with NextGEOSS catalog. But then also other data providers are welcome to let us know about the data, how they manage them, what the infrastructure is in place, how they expose them, and initiate an interaction with them in the context of this challenge.
Right. So I did a very quick poll among you attending now, and we see that there are a few of you that are data providers, but most of you are data users. But discoverability let us know how important discoverability, if you're a data provider, how important it is for you that the data are discoverable so that people can discover them. And you as a user, let us know how much you struggle with finding, if it's difficult for you to discover data. So we hear it from both sides. That's if you can let us know that in the chat, that would be lovely. Okay, with now we continue to learn more about the NextGEOSS Data Hub, where we are going to do the cataloging in this challenge. Kaushik.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Yes, we will disappear again.
Yes.
Turn off our cameras and you will.
All right, there we go. Thank you for joining. I would start with a very quick transition of the presentation you had from Valentis. So imagine that in this context of this webinar, so Valentis he was describing from the experience of a data provider. Now, Valentis, within the scope of this project CENT, he has been producing lots of citizen science data. And now we will talk about how do we catalog those data into a data hub. And within the context of this data hub, we will talk about NextGEOSS. So my name is Kaushik. I work at Demus Engenharia. We are based at Lisbon in Portugal. And currently, I am involved in this project on several aspects. So I'm involved as a project coordinator, also working very well with the Ethiopian in the data cataloging, as well as in other aspects of technical coordination. So what's NextGEOSS project? So on a high level, there are three pillars of this project. One is a NextGEOSS Data Hub, where you get access, where you search and access to data. A set of platform services which are offered you as a la carte manner, so you can choose and pick and choose which services you want, and a set of NextGEOSS pilot applications. So these pilot applications are Earth observation applications using this data hub and these platform services to build their algorithm, and in some cases they're actually moving to cloud. And this project NextGEOSS is a Horizon 2020 project funded by EU, and has been going on for almost more than 3 years now, and we are at the last leg of the project. Now, talking about what, so I mentioned there are three aspects. So data hub and platform services. So I will briefly talk about this platform service, and then we'll more focus on one particular service called data cataloging. So as you can see here, these are the services that we offer within this project: data cataloging, service cataloging, data discovery, user management, cloud integration, cloud bursting, analytics, and geospatial user feedback. So if you look at it, if you take an overview, it looks like the services that you need as an application developer to build your application. And that's the problem that we're trying to solve. So talking about Data Hub. So there will be a detailed presentation from our colleagues from the Ethiopian, and she will explain you more about what you can do as a data provider and also as an user. So that's, as Bente mentioned, that we have a very good mix of our target audience in this webinar, which is great. So so I would like to start with, for you to take a key message, which is that a data hub, it has two main aspects. One is there is a user interface where you can search manually for data, and there is one important point, which is OpenSearch API. So which is more for towards the application developer. So it means that as a user, it could be a data provider, or you are an end user or a data consumer, you can come to this catalog and you can manually either look for data, or you can programmatically access or search data to build your application. Now, data cataloging. What do we offer as a service to data providers? So if you are a data provider, as some of you are in this webinar, one important thing to keep in mind is that we are not storing real data. We are storing only the metadata. So that's a very important point. Is that we are helping the end users potentially to search and get access to to download the data, which may be hosted in a federated environment. And also to, as a data provider, if you are producing a data within your project, it could be within your research activities, and you want to make your data discoverable and reachable to a wider audience. In the scope of NextGEOSS, we are committed to provide a contribution to GEO and to support GEO's guiding principles, like the supporting the SDGs, the Sendai framework, and the Paris Climate Agreement. And this is our goal, to make the data visible and accessible to the entire GEO community. And the most important aspect of our data catalog or data hub is that we recognize and credit you as a data provider. And you will see in details that once you become a data provider, any user would clearly understand who is providing this data and potentially provide feedback to you as a data provider. And more importantly, as a data provider, I believe you all want to increase the value of your data by facilitating access to other users and also forwarding the science that you have been working on. And now you'll be wondering, like, what exactly do we offer? I mean, what's exactly the value addition we do to the data providers? So the main aspect is that we offload the technical complexities from you. So we make it easier for you to catalog data, and we take this burden at our end to make sure that we catalog your data such a way that becomes visible, accessible, without much an effort from your side. And that's how we do is we offer you flexibility. We offer so our cataloging mechanism is very robust, and it's encompassing different types of interfaces, and that brings a flexibility to you. So if you have certain interface, we will develop, we will research, and we will find out a way to catalog your data. And the cataloging could be could be done in different manner. It could be a continuous or on demand, and based upon your data generation frequency mechanism. And also we do have a recovery mechanism. So as you can see that the service that we offer is more towards providing an operational service to data providers, where the data becomes accessible and visible to a larger audience. As a result, so far we have catalogs lots of data sets, and one important thing to point here is that we are driven by users, and we're driven by the user needs. So as you can see in my slide, there are three sections. One is the data sets required by the NextGEOSS pilots. So they are our current users. So they are the users of NextGEOSS Data Hub and the platform, where they're accessing our data to build their application. So they have put forward their requirements, and we have cataloged those data for their needs. Once we, as we moved along in the project, we become expert in this process. So we thought to extend this service to even to external European projects and other data providers that can also benefit from this service. And that's something you see at the end of this slide, which is the catalog data from European projects and data providers. So these are the projects, European projects or other initiatives that has been producing data in the scope of the project, and we offer them to catalog their data into our data hub. And you probably will listen from Carol, who is also in this webinar, from his experience from Plan for All, who is also is also one of our our user, and who has also used our data cataloging service. And also within the scope of NextGEOSS, we're also cataloging the data that has been produced by the pilots as an output. So so you can see that we tend to build a full circle. So at one end we catalog the data that has been needed by the pilots, and the pilots uses those data, produces an output, and those outputs also get cataloged back. So this way we complete the research or complete the data generation cycle in a way. Now, what are the requirements that we look for? I mean, when we engage with a data provider, what are the criteria that we try to fulfill in order to start the data cataloging? So the important point is that if you're a data provider, there should be a mechanism where we can access the metadata, or in fact your data repository itself via some API which can be queryable, via some machine-to-machine interaction. Some interface should be available. And also there are certain key criteria that we tend to follow, which is that there should be some sort of a temporal and a way to query based on a time range. And also the metadata that you are generating should be well defined and should be very clearly understandable, and so that we can catalog very easily. Although all this during this process, we do have a mechanism, I'll talk about it shortly, where we interact with you to make sure that that we give you feedback, so you can quickly make your metadata or your data cataloging interface available for us to access easily. And also to understand, we also try to understand what's your data generation frequency. At what frequency are you generating your data? What kind of what's the portfolio of data are you generating? Are you generating in the area of ocean, in the area of land? So we try to understand that, and that's how we separate our data hub. And also to understand how long, what's the retention period of your data, because what you always want to make sure is that within our data hub, that any user who accesses data should always gets an active downloadable link on access to the data, because that's quite important. Because we don't want to, as a user, you don't want you to get frustrated by getting access to data which doesn't work. So that's why we try to understand what's the retention period from the data provider's end, so that we can build our cataloging framework or cataloging strategy such a way that we respect that, and it's there so that is always an active data metadata records are provided to our data consumers. And also we expect, and we also try to work with the data providers such a way that there is a good availability and a good response of from the data source. And in general, the process that we follow, very quickly to explain you how we work. So there are two entities involved. So Deimos Engineeria and our colleagues from the Ethiopian. And Georgina is in the call, is also in the webinar. She will explain more about how it works at the back end. So we work in a collaboratively, and we do at Deimos, we actually develop the data connectors. We talk to the data providers, and the Ethiopian is just more responsible towards validating those data harvesting connectors and making it and also making it available in the production and integrating into the production environment. So what are the main challenges that we usually face? And that's how, this is sort of like our summary of our experience so far working with several data providers, is that what we observe is that in some cases data providers is not following certain standards. And if that happens, we do guide them and we try to explain what kind of information we are looking for. And also some cases we observe some sort of a very complicated metadata model that the providers follow. And we try to explain how that can be also be streamlined, for example. And also unavailability of APIs or machine-to-machine interfaces, that makes it very difficult for us to develop a data connector or data harvesting strategy. And also the points that I have already talked about is about the availability, the lack of response time of the data repository, and in some cases not having a real direct access to the actual data product, because along with the metadata or description of the data, we do provide via OpenSearch and also via our NextGEOSS user interface a direct download link, so that any user can directly download the product. In some cases, those links are not available. We do have a mechanism now in place within our data hub where we can identify those links and interact with data providers to make this process much more smoother and also much more fruitful. So what we usually follow is that, I mean, as you can understand, that before we start cataloging, we do have to have a lot of feasibility analysis, a lot of requirement analysis that we go through. So we understand what kind of interface as a data provider you have, and then we actually start building the sort of data connectors, and once it's done, and as a data provider, you see that your data is getting cataloged very quite smoothly into our data hub. So what were the steps that you need to follow if you are a data provider, you want to get connected with this project? So it's very simple. You have to go create your user account in NextGEOSS, and then log into our service desk, and that's the link that you see on my slide. And then there's an option called link your data. And once you click on this link, it will ask you some set of basic questionnaires, which are very simple to answer. And once you raise this ticket, and this gets recorded by our operational team, and we analyze the ticket, and we do some sort of initial set of interactions with you, and then we finalize and agree with you about the mechanism, or at least the strategy that you will follow to catalog your data. And voila! And after that, we start building the harvesters, and we keep you informed. And I would like to end my presentation with a few other examples of what exactly the value that you can extract from cataloging your data into NextGEOSS Data Hub. Is that currently we have been able to, thanks to DCAT extension, we're able to make our data sets available in Google Dataset Search, and which is a quite interesting aspect, because Google Dataset Search is becoming very popular among the research community, where using so once our data sets becomes available, it also really connects to the research community in a very seamless way. And also talking about on a global perspective, so we have also worked recently where our data sets are also becomes visible in GEOSS portal with the help of our OpenSearch API. So what does it mean is that if you catalog your data within NextGEOSS Data Hub, invariably it becomes also accessible via GEOSS portal. So this is just a one example of the point which I mentioned in the beginning, is that your data will get a wider reach and get accessible to wider community. And this is one such example. And with that, I would end my presentation. So look forward to some of your questions and any feedback that you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaushik. And yes, I have to start again, apologize to my speakers and to the audience, because I forgot to do a tour de table with the speakers. So Kaushik, while we listen to you, could you just introduce yourself, your background,
sure, absolutely.
what you do? Yeah,
absolutely. So hi, I'm Kaushik again. So I'm working at Deimos Engineering, and I'm based at Lisbon, Portugal. So I am mainly involved. I'm playing the role of a technology and business innovation expert at Deimos, and within the scope of NextGEOSS, I am working as part of the project coordination team, and also involved in several other technical activities. Also working very closely with Ethiopian for data cataloging aspect, also analytics, and also overall technical coordination as well. So that's in short my introduction.
Yes, thank you, Kaushik, to have a little bit background on you. And then Valentis, we go quickly to you as well to hear what your background is.
Yeah. My name is Valentis Tsiakos. I'm a researcher at the Institute of Communication and Computer Systems located in Athens, Greece. So I'm part of the Horizon 2020 WeObserve project that is involved citizen science, to move into the ministry and work with different challenges in place. And I was also a member of the coordinating team of the SEND Citizen Observatory.
Excellent, thank you. And Georgiana, how about you?
Hello, I'm Georgiana Vera. I'm a developer at Datopian, based in Berlin. I've been a developer for quite a few years now, mostly active in the open data community, starting with Open Knowledge Foundation, which really tries to promote open data around the world. And that's what I'm continuing to do at Datopian.
Excellent. And Carol.
Hi. My name is Karel. I am working for many organizations. Among one is Plan for All. I can say that I'm one from the person who started with Inspire Hackathon many years ago. For us, this year it is interesting experience because we already organize number of virtual hackathons in Europe and also in Africa. But this is first time in the time where people are not able to travel, and so seems that the interest of auditory is very big, and I see this as very successful. And my background are, I studied mathematics in the past, but all my life I work around spatial information, remote sensing, and this. And now I'm project manager.
Excellent. So there you have all the excellent speakers introduced properly as well. Apologies again. But now we can listen to you, Georgiana. You are up next. Let us dive into CCAN and the Data Hub.
Okay. I will share my screen.
Yep. And don't forget to ask questions, by the way. Don't be shy. You can also raise your hand to get in, so we can invite you into the room, but that will happen after all the presentations in the Q&A. Okay, Georgiana, the floor is yours.
Yes. So today I will present more about the Data Hub. You've already heard it mentioned in the other presentations, but I will dive more into CCAN, a bit of introduction, and also give you an overview of the Data Hub and an overview of the OpenSearch APIs. CCAN is a powerful data management system that streamlines publishing, finding, and using data. It was created in 2007 by Open Knowledge Foundation, but it has been enriched and maintained by the community ever since. It is open source, extensible, and easy to integrate with other systems. And it was specifically designed for the publication and consumption of open data. So it has a strong focus on data licensing and data ownership and so on. It has been used by many high-profile data platforms, including governmental open data portals and educational institutions and so on. The NextGEOSS catalog is based on CCAN. You can access it at this link, catalog.nextgeoss.eu. It looks like this. It contains over 1 million data sets already, encompassing everything from satellite to remote sensing, in situ, and now citizen science data. It allows you to search through multiple collections of different providers. You can choose, for example, area of interest, and then filter and then see only the data sets that concern that particular area. You can filter by a certain time range. There are also other filters depending on the collections that you choose, more technical filters. There's also a data providers page where you would appear if you, as a provider, get cataloged in NextGEOSS. Your name will also appear here, and then people can come and click on a particular provider, and then explore all the data sets of that provider, filter by certain collections, and so on. And there's also a possibility to explore certain topics in particular. So if a user is interested in biodiversity, for example, or agriculture monitoring, and so on. So for application developers, it's quite clear what the advantages of cataloging are. You can find all the data in one place. You can retrieve all the data through a unified interface or a unified API. But also as a data provider, it gives you the opportunity to disseminate your data to different target groups and to have visibility to a wider audience. And we hope this will encourage interdisciplinary collaboration. The OpenSearch API is a very important component because it allows automatic access to the datasets. So to give you an introduction, OpenSearch is a collection of technologies that outlines a standard way to publish search results. And especially in the Earth observation community, it plays a very important role. Therefore, a standard has been developed called the OpenSearch Geo and Time Extension, which just defines a standard way for making spatial and temporal queries. In NextGEOSS, we are following this standard in our implementation of the API. You can find more details about that on this link. And I will also dive into it a bit. So as a developer, you can use the OpenSearch API to search and filter through all the data sets that we have in the catalog. There's a description document for our OpenSearch API, where you can read about the general parameters that you can use to filter the data. And then there are also parameters specific to each collection that can help you narrow down the results even further. So this may look intimidating, but it's just a description of all the general parameters that you can use to query our API. And then you can see here you have the collection ID, and you can choose one of the IDs to then retrieve all the parameters specific to this particular collection. And then you can filter even further, for example, by orbit direction or polarization. In practice, the results look something like this. So this is a query by this particular product type. We get 700, 5,000 results, and then each result is basically metadata of the data set, including the link to the original resource where you can download the product and use it in your application. That's it from me. I hope I convinced you about the beauty of cataloging. And back to you, Bente.
Thank you so much, Georgiana. Thank you so much. Do you have any? Do you have any questions for Georgiana? Please write them in the chat box so that we can ask them now, or if we cannot ask them now, we can ask them in the Q&A session after Carol has done his presentation. So don't be shy. Let us know what you wonder. Any question for all of the speakers are welcome. Nothing is simple enough or too simple or too complicated. Ask anything. Feel free. Okay. So let me see. I think maybe we have a question here. Yes, Akin is asking, as a data user, there are so much data storage sites and or link which make it also incoherent. Even joining this presentation since last week, I have almost 10 links for different data sources. Is there a platform which achieve all in one? That's a good one, Akin. Kushik, I give the floor to you.
Sure, absolutely. That's a great question. And well, the problem that you stated is exactly the problem we are actually trying to solve in NextGEOSS. So as I mentioned to you, that NextGEOSS data hub is a federated data hub. So when you come to that, when you come to NextGEOSS, you are actually being shielded from this fragmented the world of data repositories, right? And this is what we are trying to do. We cannot say that we have accumulated or federated all the data providers. No, we haven't done that. But we have found out the way to build this system or this framework of how to do that. So if you have so the question that we would like to hear from is, what kind of data are you looking for? And that's the service we provide. We catalog the data so that you don't have to go to multiple repositories to get access to the data. You come to NextGEOSS and you get access to the data. So we are in this process of consolidating, or as I would just quote Bente's favorite word, defragmentizing this fragmented Earth observation data repository. So the answer to your question is that's exactly what we are trying to do.
Yes, and Carol, you will actually speak about how data is actually stored archived on Plan for All. But even though you can find the data from Plan for All, you also are making the data, you catalog data on NextGEOSS in order to make it easier discoverable. So you will talk about that and something else.
I will
as well.
But maybe that I will introduce a little different view on the problem, in my presentation. So if I can start.
Yes, it's a good transition here. Yeah, and then the hide button after you.
Okay.
Good to go.
So I think that I will speak about more topics, but there is a very close link to the challenge 8, text mining and metadata, because it was discussed before that the problem is where and how to find information about data, how to find information about services. There were mentioned questions that we have a number of repositories where the data are described, but we have also in many cases you can find also some URI for WMS or other on only on web pages. Yes, and so what we would like to do is to make data more available, but I will also speak that we would like to do the data easy available. So, what are metadata? Yes, there is something what we discussed, I think, 2 years ago on OGC meeting. Yes, that nobody or almost nobody likes metadata. What are the metadata platform? But what is important? We don't know this, but we are working all our life with metadata. Here is some image from my colleague Thomas Reznik, and if you go to the supermarket, buy a bottle of wine, you are looking on the metadata about this wine before you are taking the content. Yes, so we are dealing in our life with metadata, and maybe that there is some way to be inspired by everyday life how to deal with metadata. So what is the purpose of our challenge is to make data and services much easier accessible for people. We are dealing with smart AfriHub innovation hub, and any software is about nothing if you don't have enough data. So the goal is to help to discover data and to make data available. As it was already discussed, yes, we have number of repositories, we have number of catalogs. For example, FAO has GeoNetwork catalog, and DMS, our partner, has its own catalog. But there is, it was discussed that on one side, this information is spread on many places, but on other side, we have other problem. Yes, how we are dealing with metadata now. I will go again to this bottle, and now imagine that you will go to the supermarket. You will obtain only the bottle without any metadata, and there will be only the code. And then you have to go to some places, put their code, and you will receive information what is in this bottle. I think that probably it will be not very convenient for you, but normally in this way we are handling in such a way with metadata in the geospatial world. So we need to be inspired with this bottle of wine, and we have to look how we can integrate metadata directly with our application. One from the things that it will be soon introduced in webinars in next days is to integrate metadata directly into your application. Yes, or metadata search, not the metadata engine, but metadata search directly and enable into your application. And from your application, you can select the data which are important for you and which you can use. Here with this, what we are now planning to introduce in next days is also other concept, and this is related to what was discussed in the beginning with some way of citizens data. What we are now also trying to introduce is to work not only with support data, but most of the people is not able to manage WMS, WFS, and these things. And the goal is to be able to develop maps as some composition of the data, and to be able, again, this described as metadata. And I expect that we will speak soon on other webinars about this approach. So this is what all we are now trying to do for our challenge now. But it was already discussed, yes, that what is important, that it is important to offer also metadata to other community, not using exactly this geospatial tool, but it will be good to know about metadata. And of course, the biggest inspiration is Google. And there exists some effort around this, how to make metadata available to anybody. There are mentioned already OpenSearch. Yes, there are such possibility like schema.org or JSON-LD, which could be used for sharing metadata also outside of metadata world. And now the newest things is Google Rich Cards, which could help to see what is in the data on the Google. I am happy to say that we are now implementing this as part of our solution. And also metadata are now part of NextGEOSS. So if you will see now the information about open land use, you can find this open land use also on Google. This metadata from open land use was harvested to NextGEOSS, and now this all metadata are available for all people using NextGEOSS infrastructure. I would like to add something, again, will be discussed much more tomorrow. Now we are preparing new open land use model, which will also introduce new metadata model. I hope that my colleagues will speak about this on the webinar tomorrow. And what is important that we are now working on extension of this open land use for Africa, and this is also the part of our hackathon in Kampala. I think that it is all from my side. You can find much more information on Smart AfriHub portal or on web pages of Plan for All. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Carol. As you can tell, there's multiple opportunities to address data-related challenges these days on the virtual hackathons. We have provided some links in the chat where you can read more about these challenges. And before we start the Q&A, I would just like to give a quick introduction to what the Inspire Hackathon is. It's the Inspire Hackathons are not one-off event, it's actually a series event. And as Carol
Seems that for me is
well, I think I'm not able to hear Bente.
I also. Bente seems that
there. Karel, maybe you can give us more details about the Inspire Hackathons then?
Okay, so it seems that there is some problem with Bente connection, so I will tell more about Inspire Hackathon. The history of Inspire Hackathon started on Inspire conference in Barcelona. This time, this first Inspire Hackathon was organized as classical in situ hackathon where people work during Inspire conference, and the topic was mainly citizen science in this time. Then we again organized year after hackathon in Kel. This was already partly virtual, and only the end was on the Inspire conference. And after Kel, we start organize so-called satellite hackathons. So Bente, I stopped that we start organize satellite hackathons. You can now continue.
Oh, yes, you took over. Luckily, we had you here. So, well, the report, I was going to say something attractive about the reports, contrary to what you might think. The reports in this hackathon is actually, the final report will be very, very important for you, and the way that you can really get something useful out of this hackathon. We will publish all the reports on the Gaudan publication outlet. So all of you will get a reference to a document to the work you did. So you can use this, the report from the work in these challenges to write a scientific publication. You work a little bit further after you've done the work here. You can publish an article to promote what you otherwise do. You can also use this report as a starting point for an application to fund future work. So this is the main reward of these hackathons, that you actually get something very useful out of it, no matter what the end results of the numbering will be. We will give something extra support to the top 3 that has been evaluated by a jury, but all of you will get something out of this. It depends on your effort yourself, but if you are working remotely here, the report will be like a reward for you, and we will have fun. And a second side effect is, of course, that you become a part of this community. We are now a huge community of people from around the world. You saw the weather reports early in this webinar. We are people from around the world, and sharing the same interest. So this is your motivation to jump on. I asked you if you were planning to attend or to participate in the any of these challenges, and to get a feel for how interested you are. Maybe you are more interested after hearing that you will get something out of it. So, and if you are unsure on how to participate, what it means, we have developed some very basic steps for you to make participating in a virtual hackathon. It's already set, go and finish. We will, I'm looking at the time, we are 5 minutes over, so we will provide that link on planforall.eu, but you will get some step-by-step instructions on how to participate in this hackathon. Okay, so I promised Omji that he or she will get into this webinar room and ask questions. Omji, prepare yourself. I'm inviting you in. So if you have the right technical setup, you will be soon among us. In the meantime, let's see if we have some more questions from the audience. Let's see. Maybe there is something, I've lost it. We have answered some of the questions already, so maybe we are just waiting for Omji. Then, the rest of the speakers, do you have any comments, additional information you will use the opportunity to share with us now that we're waiting for Omji to enter the room? No. He's coming, or he. I don't know. Omji, I don't know what that. We will see. The suspense. Omji, can you hear us? We can see you are in the room. So you need to turn on, there are some icons on the top of your screen there where you turn on your microphone. There's a microphone button and a camera button. So you can turn on those and we will be able to hear you. It's a good sign that we can see a person entering. No, so while we are waiting for him, I can mention the steps, what it means to participate here. So now we hear you, Omji. Omji, we hear you. What is your question? And we lost, maybe the connection is bad. This is exciting. So the way that you will be working in a virtual hackathon is that you will be working on a Google document. So all the information and the minutes and so on will be in a Google Doc. The mentors will guide you. So we'll summon meetings, will explain more the challenge in detail, provide information and so on. And you will also be able to communicate with each other within each of the teams in the challenges. We'll be able to communicate via a Skype channel that we have set up. It's all is optional, of course, but some sort of participation is necessary. But we are very flexible in that, and we use online tools. So all you need is basically, since you are here, you should have what you need in order to participate. Nomji, we heard you briefly. Maybe you muted yourself again. Can you turn on the microphone again? It's probably hard. I already explained to you that we will have this final report, and the finale of the Inspire Hackathon will be an online workshop where all the presentations where we will be presented with all the results. It will be very short presentations, but the main report will be then the document that you are asked to deliver to the organizers and to the jury. But we will be able to enjoy the results of all the all the teams that have taken a tag at the challenges. I think we will have to conclude now, Omji, since we are not hearing you. We are 10 minutes over the hour. Are there any additional informations and comments from y'all in my speakers?
No, I think I would like to congratulate you for organizing this webinar. It's always great to talk to people about NextGEOSS. I think same goes with Georgiana. And also thanks for actually connecting, like bringing everyone together to have this full story that we actually try to build, like data providers, cataloging, data hub, users. So thank you for that.
Yes. And like Carol mentioned already, more webinars on the topics that, there are similar topics. We will organize webinars tomorrow, on Wednesday, and on Thursday. So it will be several. So just follow us on either NextGEOSS, Plan for All, Datopian, I'm sure, and WeObserve. Yeah, and Smart AfriHub. Yeah, Smart AfriHub, and of course WeObserve with the 4 citizens observatories. I hope that you find a favorite observatories. Start with CENT and see what how you can help them, the people there, and maybe we can expand to other observatories and other data providers, others that have data they want to catalog. So with that, I think I have to say goodbye. Omji, I'm so sorry if you're hearing us. We cannot hear you or see you. So maybe the next time. Thank you so much, everybody. And
thank you so much.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Bye.
Thank you.